right, so on assignment number 30, I just did problems 1 and 2 with you, and we took some notes in the notebook. I am going to ask that you do these two problems on your own, numbers 3 and 4. I want to remind you, these are going to have a point for a solution. All right, and again, because there's equal signs, there's no shading. Go ahead and flip over your paper because this also has graphing inequality systems. These act the same as slope-intercept form. They just have a less than, greater than, or equal sign. And this just adds shading. So for example, I wanted to work with fractions, and so I'm going to do number 3 on graphing systems of inequalities. Here, if I used my notes, my first step is my intercept. So my intercept here is 0, 2. So even if it was an equal sign or a less than or a greater than sign, the process is still going to be the same. So I have 0, 2. What's my slope in this case? So if you look at your notes, it's the thing in front of x. So what's the thing in front of x? On number 3, it's going to be the positive one, but yes. So we're going to have our slope, which is 1 over 2. Because I have slope 1 over 2, that means up 1 because it's positive, and the 2 is positive, so that means to the right. So from this dot, up 1 over 2. Graphing inequalities has the extra piece. If it's an inequality, I have to worry about solid and dashed lines. Do you have your note card? Is it somewhere that you have access to for Wednesday? If not, that would be something to add here, right? Maybe you're like, no, I don't have it. You have your less than symbol. This is less than. You have greater than. Both of these are dashed. It's a dashed line. If you have a less than or equal to, or a greater than or equal to, then it is a solid line. Because our brains see differently, I would do this to emphasize what am I looking for to get a dashed line and make it so I can read my notes even faster than having to read all the words. Okay. So here are my greater than, less than pieces. So before I finish graphing my line, I first need to decide, is it solid or is it dashed? On assignment for problem number 3, it is a less than or equal to, so it looks like this. Less than or equal to, so it's going to be a solid line. All right, so here's my graph. All right, so I want you to be able to check a solution. I also want you to be able to understand the words for this. This says that y is less than or equal to the line. So if I put my pencil on the y-intercept, is less than going to be above or is less than going to be below? Less than is going to be below. So again, this equation, the words would be y is less than the line. Understanding less than or equal to, because it is less than or equal to, that means that I believe these are going to go down. So my shading is going to go down from the line. Okay. We're going to graph the other line. So here I have y is less than negative 2x minus 3. The first part is that intercept. 0, negative 3. 0, negative 3. My slope in this case is in front of x, which is negative 2. Because it's just a number, what do? This is when I would say, to make a fraction, put over 1. Your notes tell you what to do if you get stuck. So this goes down 2 and to the right 1 from the dot. Down 2 to the right 1. Is this solid or is this dashed? You look at the symbol. The symbol here is this one, less than. Less than is dashed. Okay. So this line makes it a lot harder to use that process that I just showed you, reading it out loud. We can still try. This says y is less than the line. So if y is less than the line. If I put my marker on the y-intercept, this is where I always start. Because we're talking about y specifically, if I go to the y-intercept, is y less than going to be above or is it going to be below? Is y less than above or is it below? Less than? Is it above or below? Below. So that means that I want to go this way from the line. And I make sure to get that whole purple section. Now, me using a marker versus like a colored pencil, it does make it harder to see. So you're always welcome to shade if you would prefer that instead. So now that I have my two sections, I need to know where they both happen. Where's both blue and purple? Okay, so here is just purple. Here is just blue. Do we see that it's kind of here? Something that I'm having a lot of people missing is I'd like to see all three parts and I want to see the words solution to the one section. It's really, really, really hard if all you do is use pencil. For example, here's somebody's graph. Is that hard to see the solution? For some people, they might say no. But on a test, I'm really going to encourage you, use two colors. Use two colors. Make sure your lines are straight. And then last part, did they put an arrow and tell me which section is the solution? No. Which means they wouldn't get full credit. I need to know where the solution is. So if you had a marker, if you had a highlighter, again, a separate color, this is the thing I need to see. So maybe it's a pen and a pencil that you use. That's still two colors, but it makes it obvious. Okay. Questions on this one? We're going to add our notes for this now. So in our notebook, how do we know which section to shade? How do we know which section to shade? If I have y is less than x, my intercept is 0, 0, and my slope is 1 over 1. It's a dashed line. You need to test a point. If you're unsure, no matter what, if you want to get an A minus on this test, you're going to need to test a point. So test a point. For example, I might choose this one right up here. What's this point? Let's say it's 0, 4. So if I picked point 0, 4, this is my x and this is my y. Is y less than x? Is 4 less than 0? Is that a true statement or a false statement? Is 4 less than 0? Any interaction would be great. Is 4 less than 0? Thank you. Because this is false, do not shade that side. False, don't shade. Now you only need to test one point, but if you are really worried about your letter grade and you want to verify, could you pick a point from the other section? Absolutely. What if I chose this point over here to -3? So if I wanted to test a second point, because I really need an A on this test, otherwise my parents are going to kill me, then here I go. X, Y, is y less than x? Is -3 less than 2? Is that a true statement? Yes, -3 is absolutely less than 2. Because this is true, that's where I shade. Shade. So then I shade wherever the section is that had that point in it. So on your quiz, it'll say test a point. You only have to test one. If you want to verify your grade, could you test both? Yes.